Exactly that close there, but off Curt Schilling, it's 3-2 Rocks. And then, that is not dandruff. It's not a bad hair day for Mariano Duncan. It's snow. And it affected the Rockies. Walt Weiss lets the Tom Marsh grounder go through him. Then a wild pitch by Darren Holmes, who was awful. 8-6 Phils. Jim Eisenreich, the liner to left. Hojo can't see it through the blizzard. I see a game like this, and I just keep thinking two words. Donner Party. 12-6, your final. Announced attendance, 72,000 plus. Bad news for the Rocks here. The ace reliever, Darren Holmes, pitched 1/3 of an inning, 1 hit, 3 walks, 4 runs, 1 earned. The opener in San Diego, Javi Lopez, the Braves rookie catcher. Javi, a nice day. Not for Andy Benes. Deep to left center field. It's in the gap. No one's going to get this one. McGriff scores 1-0 Braves. Top of the 4th, Dave Justice at the plate. He tries to leg out the ground hit. Watch this. Turned his ankle.
Still got him. Let's see if Justice...
Sprained it, in fact. He's day-to-day. We're all day-to-day. Jim Riggleman, Padre manager, thinking about maybe doing something else. Selling shoes for a living. Deion Sanders takes Benes over the wall, and it's 2-0 Bravos. All this for Greg Maddux. I know it's opening day, but why pitch Greg Maddux against the Padres? Hold him. Give him some rest. He gets Phil Plantier, you may remember Phil. And he gets a little help from the defense. Fred McGriff, the extension into foul territory, and he makes the play. Braves win 4-1. Braves win, Braves win. Amid all the good news from the rookies, Klesko also homered. Dave Justice, the sprained right ankle, and Tony Gwynn exited with a strained right calf. What, a muddy turf in San Diego or something? Dan?
The pregame festivities at Candlestick on Monday included the presentation of Barry Bonds' MVP Award, Dusty Baker's Manager of the Year Award, and Gold Gloves to Bonds, Kurt Manwaring, Robbie Thompson, and Matt Williams. The Giants' quest for an award-winning season in 1994 began with Pittsburgh native John Burkett facing the Pirates. Zane Smith countered for Pittsburgh, and Matt Williams lets this one go into the gap, over the gap. 1-0 Giants. Williams not done. 3rd inning, still 1-0, and Darren Lewis will be at 3rd. Willie McGee will be at 1st. Zane Smith still on the mound. Matt Williams gone.
Belts it deep to left field.
3-run homer as we pause for a moment of silence. He added a sac fly, 5 RBIs. Dusty Baker says, let's kiss it goodbye. John Burkett limited the Pirates to 5 hits through 7 innings. Zane has lost his last 9 decisions to the Giants. The Reds held opening day after opening night, and Joe Torre got tossed for complaining about Eric Gregg's breath. Joe Oliver.
There's another homer.
Off Real Cormier. 4-0 Reds, bottom of the 4th. Davey Johnson, who was tossed from the opening night game, but not the opening day game, watches his team blow a lead. The Cards would tie it on a wild pitch following the Luis Alicea base hit, brought in Zeal and Langford. We win into extra innings. Kevin Mitchell. That one leaves the ballpark in a hurry. Off former Red Rob Murphy, and the Reds win it. Mitchell needs help, a police escort to get to home plate. 5-4 the final in this one. John Smiley, in the 2nd year of that 4-year, $18 million deal, tossed 5 shutout innings before running into a little bit of trouble in the 6th inning. To the Dome for the Expos and the Astros, and 3-3 game in the 12th, minute 1st and 2nd, and here comes Mitch. Uncorks the wild pitch. 1 batter later, bases are loaded, and Mitch brings in the go-ahead run, 4-3 Expos, and then 5-3 Expos. Mitch, qu'est-ce que c'est? The Astros rally. Bottom of the 12th, down 5-4. Minute 1st and 2nd. Ken Caminetti hit a bullet. Steve Finley will score to tie it. The question is, can Jeff Bagwell come around for the game winner? No throw. No problem. Astros win it by the final of 6-5. 15 of the 34 pitches Mitch threw were called balls. This was Houston's first opening day win since 1989.
Mitch has trouble with them Canadian teams. Now the first edition of the new TV show about the Yankees, The X-Files. Is ex-Astro, ex-Xavier Hernandez their bullpen savior, or will Buck Showalter have to ex-Zoom Jeff Reardon or Steve Howe to close out games in the Bronx? Or perhaps try Joe D. Had some good motion on his knuckleball. 58 years to the month since they bought him from the San Francisco Seals. I call it a strike. It's the American League. To the 3rd inning, bases full. Boggs and Tartabull over at first. And against Kevin Brown, Paul O'Neill off the end of the bat, and that one is not going to get caught. Boggs and Mattingly score. New signs behind home plate at Yankee Stadium. Shame on you, George. Shame on you, George. Is that George? Danny Tartabull looking marvelous. They had the plastic surgery over the winter. The blast to left center. Nobody's going to get this one. Nearly to the tree in the bullpen. The Yanks win 5-3. Guess who got the save? That's right, the man who was not going to be the closer as of last week. Xavier Hernandez. Don't rush out and get him in the rotisserie league quite yet, says Showalter. It was a situation decision. It was a situation, please. Tomorrow it could be Hernandez first and then Wickman. Key is now 5-0 lifetime on opening day. Baltimore, Chan Ho Park at Camden Yards. George Brett looks like an exec. First year in retirement. Brian McRae, meanwhile, looks like a center fielder. Check this dive out. Robs Devereaux. Great catch. Umpire was out there, too. Mike Mussina torched all spring. Hoyle sets out outside. Forget it, Greg Gagne. Mussina looked sharp. 8 innings pitched, 1 earned run, and 2 hits. The O's got all the offense they needed. Bottom 7th, it's Rafael Palmeiro. He struggled during the spring. Off Billy Brewer. No relation to Bernie Brewer. Palmeiro goes Camden Yards, and gets the curtain call. In fact, every Orioles starter got a safety save Sabo. Palmeiro homered. Mussina, who got garroted all spring, said it was the best he'd felt in a long time, and that is Lee Smith's 4th opening day save. At Fenway, yes, it's Nancy Kerrigan for the first pitch for the Red Sox game, and here are the scores. 5-3, 5-3, 5-5, 5-7. A terrible score from the Chinese judge. Get him out of here. Rocket Clemens was on fire early, got Whitaker, got Davis. Yes, the Tigers did buy the old Indians uniforms for use in this game, but the trouble started top 5. Mickey Tettleton rips it to right into the corner. Here comes Pryman. We're tied at 5. Then they walk Gibson. Then Trammell comes up. He hits the ball. Otis Nixon gets the glove on it, but not quite. Tettleton scores. Gibson scores. Tigers lead 7-5. Clemens gave up 8 earned in 4 2/3. Sox were not dead, though. Bottom of the 8th, 2 on, 2 out. Billy Hatcher rips it down the line. Cooper scores. Vallotton scores. We're tied at 8. Then Storm Davis. Uh-oh. That's Tiger midseason relief pitching form right there. Off Tettleton's glove. Sparky. He doesn't like the hats either. Red Sox win 9-8. Clemens was 4-0 in spring training. Not today. Leslie Sterling made her public announcing debut, replacing the late Sherm Feller, who passed away in the offseason. Quite a change for Red Sox fans, indeed.
I did a double take when I saw those Tiger uniforms. I thought it was the Indians.
That's it, the Indians, the old uniform.
Why change the Tiger
Point jumper. We're up by 3, 73-70. President Clinton likes it, of course, because Arkansas wins its first ever national championship. The final count, 76-72. Well, in baseball, slugger Darryl Strawberry is headed for a treatment center for a drug problem. The Los Angeles Dodgers announced Monday evening. Strawberry was AWOL during Sunday's final exhibition game between the Dodgers and California Angels. On Monday, the 32-year-old met with team officials admitting his addiction, at which time the Dodgers placed him on the disabled list. Now, L.A. opens the season at home Tuesday against the Marlins. Rookie Henry Rodriguez will take Strawberry's place in right field. For more on this, plus the complete NCAA story, join Nick Charles and me on Sports Late Night, coming your way at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific. Catherine?
Look forward to it. Thank you, Larry. Today's opening day brought with it 125 years of baseball tradition. But while much of the national pastime is the same, times do change. This year, there's a new rule in the Major League, and not everyone's happy about it. CNN's Gary Tuckman explains.
What is it about baseball that brings one of its greatest and shyest players ever, Joe DiMaggio, to throw out the first ball at the New York Yankees opener? Well, it's the same thing that brings the President of the United States out to the Cleveland Indians' new ballpark. And it's the same thing that brings the First Lady to the Chicago Cubs' Wrigley Field. What it is tradition. There's no sport with more tradition than baseball. And on opening day, winter is truly over. But this year, there's a change in the national pastime that traditionalists say is upsetting whatever purity the game had left.
The people upstairs running the game now and the television industry are going for the quick fix.
What has baseball done? For the first time, a team that comes in second place can now do what the Toronto Blue Jays did last year, win the World Series. The National and American Leagues now have 3 divisions each, and 1 second-place wildcard team in each league will now make it to the playoffs.
I think come September, you'll see that there's greater interest and greater enthusiasm in more cities. And that's the reason for doing it.
There's a little more cynicism from some people, including baseball legends.
I guess the idea is for one reason. I guess to keep it going on as long as they can, so the till rings.
Indeed, it's not a stretch to surmise that baseball owners hope to make more money from this setup. But
I think everybody's going to enjoy the three-divisional play. Sure, the traditionalists won't, but things change, and we have to change, too.
for years, other major league sports have done the same thing, only to a much greater extent. The football playoffs accept 6 teams that finished out of first place. Basketball and hockey both take 12 non-first place teams. Some fans say baseball should have withstood the pressure.
When I was a kid, I used to watch the Yankees and watch for a pennant race, and the best team at the end of the season was the victor. Now it's anybody's game.
If you think fans opposed to these changes will quickly get over them, think again. 2 decades after the designated hitter rule took effect in the American League.
DiMaggio showed the crowd he is still magic on the field. He threw a perfect pitch right over the home plate. Crowd went wild. First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton says that she's cheering for the Chicago Cubs. So today she went back to her hometown to support that team. At Wrigley Field, Mrs. Clinton stood behind third base and threw out the first ball. During the 7th inning stretch, Mrs. Clinton left the stands, and then, over the loudspeaker, the voice of Hillary Clinton, accompanied by sports announcer Harry Carey. President Clinton didn't do any singing, but he did have a good time at the Indians game in Cleveland today. Mr. Clinton is a left-handed pitcher. He got the ball over the plate, although it was a little high, and the fans cheered anyway. Their applause heard throughout Jacobs Field. That's Cleveland's brand new stadium.
The people of Cleveland paid for their new stadium with local tax dollars. Here in the Bay Area, it's estimated that a new Giants ballpark could cost about $155 million. Are the people of San Francisco willing to foot the bill? Tonight, Jeffrey Schaub takes a look.
Jacobs Field, Cleveland, Ohio, the Indians' new cozy baseball stadium that officially opened up for business today on this first day of baseball. Built not with corporate money, but a sales tax imposed on communities all around the Cleveland area. Would such an idea work here to build a new ballpark for the Giants?
I don't think a tax would work, even in the Bay Area, the way it did in Cleveland, because San Jose has already had a vote in June of 1992 saying they absolutely refuse to be taxed to build a ballpark.
Not only did San Jose voters oppose a tax, thereby preventing the team from moving there, San Francisco voters twice voted down ballot measures to build a ballpark using public money. Regional experts say it's almost impossible to get a region-wide tax passed in the Bay Area, especially during a recession. Then what of the much heralded plans for a new Giants ballpark?
Right now, we want to focus on Candlestick. Long term, sure, we'd like to have a new ballpark, but until we have the right plan, the right site, the right financing in place, we're going to put our focus on Candlestick.
Behind the scenes, city officials continue studying corporate financing of a ballpark in downtown that could someday look like this. But they're just studying, they say.
This is one of the sites that the Giants and the city seems to like. It's Rincon Hill between 1st and 2nd Street. What they like about it is that it's close to downtown businesses within walking distance, and it's close to Muni and BART and a proposed new downtown railroad station.
The city and the Giants are also considering 7th and Townsend Streets as a site, along with China Basin near the bay. But that's all they're doing, considering. That while Cleveland and Texas and Chicago and Baltimore bask in the glory of brand new, already built, state-of-the-art ballparks.
No, it's not Bush League, but it is owned by a guy named Bush, and as one Clinton aide suggested, the invitation must have got lost in the mail. Bill Clinton doing his best Bill Lee imitation, little lollipop curve that falls over for a strike, and the Prez was witnessing history. Randy Johnson, a no-hitter into the 8th. Sandy Alomar ruins history. The single to right. It unraveled Johnson. Runners at 2nd and 3rd. Manny Ramirez deep to left, and this one off the mini green monster. It scores Candy Maldonado and Alomar, and this game is tied at 2. Bottom of the 11th, tied at 3. Wayne Kirby goes the other way. It scores Eddie Murray, and the Indians celebrate a 4-3 victory. Key to the game, getting that first hit. Kirby said, once we got Johnson out of the game, we felt relieved, and we got busy. Top 4 of the Tribe order had no success. Lofton, Vizquel, Baerga, Bell, 1 for 17.
Brickett went 7 innings. Todd Benzinger, a man whose numbers will be closely watched this season, tripled in 2 runs in the 5th. 8-0 was the final. Baker says he's glad he gave Benzinger and Williams so many innings in Arizona.
Part of it was psychological. You know, it's like, dang, why do I always get off to a slow start? I've heard Matt say that before, you know. And so with that in mind, then you try to get them extra work so that they can, you know, you get them another 15, 20 at bats. That's big.
In spring training, I didn't look at any numbers or the key for me is put good swings on good pitches. And if I can do that and I hit the ball hard, then I'll, you know, I can take my chances and maybe get some hits.
He's been on fire. I mean, he's been just blazing the last probably 3 weeks of spring training. I think he was hitting 500 the last like 20 games. And you know, today he just went out and just took the game over.
Bill Swift goes for the Giants tomorrow. Steve Cook starts for Pittsburgh. Now, here's the reason Matt Williams does not lead the league in home runs. Carl Tuffy Rhodes hit 3 homers today for Chicago in a 12-8 loss. Yes, that's a loss to New York. Rhodes is the first man to homer in his first 3 at-bats on opening day. Jeff Kent, formerly of Cal, had 4 hits in New York's win. Also today, Greg Maddux beat the Padres 4-1. Ken Caminiti's 2-run double beat the Expos in 12, while Kevin Mitchell homered the Reds past the Cardinals in 10. The Phils beat the Rockies in a game that featured snow in Denver. The Marlins and Dodgers open tomorrow. Darryl Strawberry admitted to a drug problem, and he's been placed on the disabled list. Jacobs Field in Cleveland almost saw Seattle's Randy Johnson throw a no-hitter, but that ended in the 8th, and then here in the 11th.
The day for Will Clark in his Texas debut. Not enough. Danny Tartable, when healthy, he's one of the best and goes deep off Kevin Brown, the Rangers ace, to help salt it away. 56,706. That's an all-time regular season high, believe it or not, at Yankee Stadium, and the Pinstripes don't disappoint. Shake down the rest of the American League lid lifters. Toronto beat up on Jack McDowell and the White Sox. Randy Johnson had a no-hitter for 7 innings, but the Mariners won.
Willie McGee, who'll bat right-handed. And McGee takes the pitch up high.
Cardinals are playing the infield back. They're going to go ahead and concede the run from third base.
Watson pitching quickly. And McGee swings and misses.
I mean, this is a situation where not necessarily in the first inning, but I believe that you're hitting with runners at second and third, no one out. You should still hit the ball to the right side, because the runner at third is automatically going to score, and you would move Robbie over to third with less than 2 outs.
And McGee takes a close pitch, and they'll check at first base to Jerry Crawford. And it's a ball, 2 balls, and 1 strike. Yeah, it's a great way to accomplish 2 things.
Right.
To really help your ball club. 2 balls and a strike. And McGee grounds it to the left side. Ozzie waits on it, and the toss is in time. A run scores. And the Giants take a 1-0 lead.
As they say, there are good outs, and then there are poor outs. And I hate to say this, but that's not a good out. If he hits that same ground ball to the second baseman, then Robbie's at third now with 1 down where he could score on a fly ball. Obviously, he did the job of getting Lewis in, which is part of your job. But I still believe hitting the ball to the right side would have accomplished, as you say, both things. See, hitting the ball to shortstop, there's no way that Robbie can go over to third. And Ozzie Smith throws him out at first base. So
you can live with that, Joe.
Yeah,
the hitter has 2 strikes on him.
Right, exactly. Oh, with 2 strikes, yeah. Or late in the count, you can always live with that.
Here's Matt Williams. Matt has 2 hits, and they both left the ballpark, and he takes a strike. 2 for 8 on the season with 5 RBIs. And last year finished under the 300 mark, but the power numbers were awesome. Thompson, the base runner, at second with 1 out. And the pitch is outside. 1 ball and 1 strike to Matt Williams. On deck is Barry Bonds. The Giants lead 1-0 here in the bottom of the first inning. Alan Watson taking on John Burkett. And the pitch is inside to Matt Williams, and that's a pretty good pitch thrown by Watson. It may not be a strike, but it indicates to the right-handed hitters that Watson will come in with the fastball.
Well, he's showing them that he has a good enough fastball that they have to respect the inside part of the plate, because he can pop it in there. And that sets up the fact that he can tail the fastball away, because left-handers' balls naturally tail away from the right-handed hitter.
Now
That's what makes them so tough. Sorry, Dwayne.
Now Matt calls timeout. 2 balls and 1 strike. Ball appears to be carrying extremely well this afternoon at Candlestick, and a swing and a miss, and it's 2-2.
And there's a good fastball, good high fastball this time to Matt Williams. Take a look at this. You'll see that Matt's a little late on it. Fastball right by him, up. Good pitch right there. We have not seen the changeup that you talked about, but we've seen very good pop on the fastball.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And that's up high, and now it's a full count. There is a base open, however, I don't think that comes into play now with Barry Bonds on deck. Thompson with his lead at second base, and the 3-2 pitch, and Matt pops it into shallow center field. Coming in is Langford, and he makes the catch.
Another good pitch by Watson. That fastball got in on Williams and jammed him a little bit.
And here's Barry Bonds. Bonds is 3 for 9 with a home run and 1 RBI. He has scored a couple of runs. And those are his MVP numbers from last year. On deck is Todd Benzinger. First pitch to Bonds is up high, 1-0.
In the third, Ivan Rodriguez tees off on Arthur Rhodes again into left. 6-3 for the Rangers. 4 homers in this one. 8-7 the final. This one.
Well, we begin with a pennant race in April? Of sorts, but now that they're in different divisions, they actually root for one another. Sort of. Or at least Bobby Cox said so. One hot team confronted one hot pitcher tonight in Atlanta, the unbeaten Braves versus the unbeaten Mark Portugal. Atlanta last lost last October against the Phillies. Portugal last lost last July against Pittsburgh. Atlanta countered Portugal with John Smoltz, who had won 6 of his last 8 decisions against the Giants, to Fulton County and Bubblicious. In the third, Dion said, "Give me 500 at-bats. I'll show you what I can do." With Otis in Boston, Dion will get his 500 at-bats. The base hit off Portugal. The Lemmer scores 1-0 Braves. Then it's the always dangerous Jeff Blauser. Sanders base hit. Charlie O'Brien scores 2-0 Braves. It was 3-0 Braves in the fourth when Dusty makes a tough decision. Bases loaded against John Smoltz, and Baker pinch hits for Mark Portugal. Dave Martinez comes through. The gapper, all 3 runners score. Martinez, though, gets a little bit greedy. He's headed to third. The Giants tie it. Portugal is off the hook. Davey is out. And then it's Charlie O'Brien. He's not going to see too much action with Javi Lopez, but he does tonight, paying big dividends. 2 runs come in, Braves up 5-3. Then in the 6th, guess who's up again? Charlie O with some O. Thought he got all of it, but Bonds on his horse, hauls it in, and then bangs into the wall. He's down but not out. He comes back in the 9th. The tender elbow, gone.
Right center.
Tied at 5. Say goodbye to Smoltz and say goodbye to the Braves lead. And then it's John Patterson, a hero for one shining moment last year. Always has approach. Comes through against Mark Wohlers. Benzinger scores. The Giants would play a couple and go on to win it by the final of 7-5. Atlanta, 6 runners left on base. Smoltz, 1-1, 8 hits, 10 hits, 8 innings, 10 hits, 6 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 Ks. Portugal, 3 innings of work, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, and 4 Ks. Davey Martinez, the star of this one, aside from Bonds, going 1 for 1 with the 3 RBIs. Speaking of Bonds, he hit .237 against the Braves during his years in Pittsburgh. Last year hit just under .450 against Atlanta. His 3 for 4 showing tonight has gotten the 3-time MVP, off to a pretty good start against Atlanta this season. The Marlins home opener took place against Houston, and the fish that saved Florida could not save Ryan Bowen. facing Scott Service, and that is Service with a smile. Houston goes up 1-0. And the next batter, Andujar Cedeno. Actually, that looks like Luis Gonzalez.
Chases one in the dirt.
Let's just play along with these highlights because I'm not really sure what's going to happen. Looks like Luis Gonzalez again. I'll bet he's got 2 strikes on him. I'm just going to guess, but I think he's going to leave the yard. Oh, how many times you seen it? I goof up on the highlights, but recover to make it look like I didn't make a mistake. Anything else? That looks like Darryl Kyle, Gary Sheffield. Bases are loaded, and I think this is in the 5th inning. Down the line, and Ken Caminiti comes up with the key play of the game, saving 3 runs. Darryl Kyle loves.
But there are firsts where First Interstate can be a big help, like helping you fulfill a dream. Then we'll do everything possible to make it come true. And because there's so many times when no one can help you, when it comes to banking, come to First Interstate Bank, and we'll go out of our way to help you, as long as we can.
I just can't climb into a suit and tie. Meet Kevin. He didn't get his business philosophy from an MBA program. I think it's really about not the profit margins I'm trying to make, but about staying connected with my customers. How else does Kevin connect with his customers? The AT&T Business Advantage, his own 800 number. Now you can keep up with your customers for only $6 a month. Hey, AT&T works for me. Let AT&T work for you.
2 hits and 8 runs. Yes, this was a strange night for the Oakland A's. 24,970 fans found their way to the Coliseum for an 8-4 Oakland victory over the world champion Blue Jays. Ruben Sierra, one of the 2 hits, and he made it count. Away back, and this baby is gone. 3-1 A's, bottom 1. We move it to the 4th. Stan Javier is going to get a bead on Ed Sprague's deep drive, and then outfight a fan. Watch a glove come into view. Get that out of there, young man. All right, Javier with a catch. 5-4 A's, bottom 5. This broke the game. Sierra, slow roller. Ricky Henderson is coming home. Ricky is in there. The A's led 6-4. Toronto pitching walked 12 Oakland batters tonight. Take a pass, Scott Brocious at 7-4. Mike Bordick, you're going to take 4 bad ones. The A's win 8-4. One more time, only 2 hits in their victory tonight. Elsewhere, Minnesota, they're pitching. It's batting practice. You know, you never know what color is going to come up on our scoreboard, and I respect that. Also, it's a win for Cleveland. It is Chicago over New York, 22 for Boston, 11 for Kansas City. Atlanta's home opener spoiled big time tonight by the Giants. We need a hit from Fulton County Stadium. Where is Mr. Turner? There's a woman in shades, name of Fonda, hanging out with former President Carter. 4th inning off Dave Burba, who was on in relief of Portugal, and he gives it up to Charlie O'Brien. Atlanta had a 5-3 lead. They would nestle that advantage into the night. John Smoltz trying to go all the way, and Barry Bonds. All right, he can show up for when he wants to for interviews. He can be a so-so actor because a son of a gun kid. Yes, Gary Cunningham, a friend of my father's, with Bryn Horde going into the gap. Horde is hitting .422. His pitching record is 7-0. Bellerman beat Bonds' alma mater today 2-1. And daddy up, Gary Cunningham. He's a genius. He's a genius. My dad's one of these guys. Just if it's a friend of my dad's, mention it. Gary Cunningham, he's a genius. Nothing magical about the Lakers tonight. Golden State jumped out early and never buckled to the once fabulous Forum. Backdoor pass here to Gatling. He had 21, but later was ejected for fighting with James Worthy. Roddy Divac is rather sweet with a pass here. Hello, Roddy. Lamed up for Doug Christie. But the night belonged to Mullen with 25, Weber with 25, Owens with 25. Mullen pulls up. You get a good look.
For Jose Rijo, and then Tony Fernandez. Days ago, Kent Merker pitched a no-hitter against the Los Angeles Dodgers. A base hit. 8 innings of no-hit ball. 7 1/3 of perfect baseball, and the Reds have their first hit. Pedro Martinez gets a standing ovation.
chance to watch Barry Bonds from the backside, see how still his head was. And he knew it. It's just a matter of, will it stay fair? Ryan Bowen's sort of running true to form right now. As we mentioned earlier, last year in 156 innings, 120 of those innings, he threw zeros up. It was the other 36 that were ugly. And he doesn't just put ones up there. He puts up crooked numbers.
Crooked numbers. And that's what's happened here. 3 zeros and then a 3. Bowen has now allowed 7 home runs in 16 innings of pitching this year, and nobody can survive at this level at that rate.
And it's happened so fast that the Marlins can't even get anybody loose.
Although they're trying. Benzinger at second base with 1 out. Mark Gardner, right-hander, former Expos starter, loosening up. Mike Benjamin, the batter for the Giants. Started to mention, Kruk, that this game's a long way from its ultimate conclusion, but we both saw something in the bottom half of the third inning that probably goes unnoticed, but could be huge. Portugal had an inning developing that could have been a crooked number, and he stopped it at 1 run.
He stopped it with Sheffield up, and that's no easy task. Got Sheffield and hit into a double play, and he came right back to Conine, who had previously doubled off a center field fence. He struck him out.
Was his position. Two 2-0 to McGee.
You're talking about Ryan Bowen. If he's allowed to spend a lot of time around Marcel Latchman, he will develop. This guy's a good athlete with a good arm, and he's not that far off from putting all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Does he need a third pitch?
He needs his third pitch. He needs a little softer breaking ball. We talked about that last night. Something he can have a little more command of when he has to come over the plate behind the count.
That'll move Thompson to third, but the Marlins get McGee for the second out. There's really no way, Kruk, is there, that a pitcher, starting pitcher, can last with just 2 pitches? Unless it would have to be extraordinary.
Well, you know, Nolan Ryan did it for a long time. It wasn't until he got to about 37, 38 years old that he really learned how to pitch. He started sinking the ball then. He started throwing the changeup, and at that point, it was unfair. That's how good his 2 pitches were, his fastball and curveball. But it's just very rare that you see a guy has that. Usually, by the third at bat, the hitters are on your fastball, and they are familiar with your breaking ball.
They learn how to pitch from Mike Scott?
Well, your implications are pretty nasty right there.
No. Ooh, Williams spinning away.
Mike Scott, the Houston Astros pitcher who was accused of scuffing the baseball, was a teammate with Nolan Ryan. This was a pitch. That's a good pitch to get a guy off the plate, actually. It wasn't up around his face. The hitters tell you that's a fair one. You may have thought that Matt Williams was diving out there. In his first 2 at-bats, he's had singles on breaking balls.
1-1 now to Williams. Matt, 2 singles tonight. Scored a run. Thompson at third with 2 away in the top of the 5th inning. Air mails, and that was so wild that Thompson could not score.
Well, we talked about his command of a third speed. Now, that was an attempt to throw a changeup. It's a 1-1 count, and you see he hasn't quite learned it yet.
Boy, if you watch that again in the motion, it almost looked like you could see him physically jamming the ball back into his hand, Kruk, as he was winding up.
Well, that's what he did. You can see the grip is choked in. He's trying to throw the changeup on a choke grip, and that's a pitch that if you get it away from your fingertips, you lose control of it, and you have a tendency to push the ball rather than get the wrist snap that you have on your fastball. And that wrist snap is what sets up the deceptive arm speed, which again sets up the changeup. Well, that one he pushed up there, and he almost threw it out of the stadium.
Well, he got a break. The ball, there's not a lot of room behind home plate here, and the ball hit the padded part of that wall there on a fly and carried right back to Santiago. Alertly, Thompson did not commit himself, otherwise he would have been an easy out. Well, it's 3-1 to Williams, and the alternative here isn't any pleasant because Bonds is next.
That was a 2-1 fastball that Santiago wanted Bowen to come inside with, and Bowen didn't want to do it. The catcher made him throw that pitch, which was the right call. Now he signals for a fastball away.
And Matt Williams delivers. Well, that is a welcome sight for the Giants. A 2-out run-scoring hit. There haven't been many of those so far this year. That was a part of the game the Giants absolutely excelled at last year.
A good sign of things to come.
Williams' third hit today, his 10th run batted in of the season.
And it also brings to bat Barry Bonds.
John Burkett will pitch Tuesday afternoon against Denis Boucher. We'll call him Denny Boucher.
Although they've had 80,000 fans here, they were standing all over the place, but today every seat sold. Some kind of crowd. Over 200,000 for the series.
Wow.
3-game series.
Wilkins still tardy. He's down at 1-2. Cubs are leading 9-2 here in the 6th. Well, the city certainly has embraced Major League Baseball and this Rockies franchise in particular. The owners of Major League teams don't make many wise decisions, but I think selecting Denver in the expansion roundabout last year was a pretty good call. Threw well over $4.5 million last year. And they have expanded the original seating over at their new stadium, Coors Field, next year was supposed to be 43,000. It's going to be 50,100 when all is said and done. So they won't have days like today in terms of just pure numbers. But I can guarantee you, first 2 or 3 years of that ballpark, they will sell out every night.
Right now they're having one big problem, Tommy, and it's a problem every team would love to have, and that's where to cut off the season tickets. They want to have some tickets available for
Tom Rathman in San Francisco. You see Bryant Young, William Floyd. Let's move down to round number 2. 53 overall, Kevin Mitchell, a linebacker from Syracuse. Number 62, Tyrone Drakeford, defensive back from Virginia Tech. How about the Raiders? Rob Frederickson, 22nd pick in round 1, linebacker, Michigan State. Everybody said the Raiders needed a running back. They did not address their needs early. James Folston, linebacker, Northeast Louisiana, goes in round number 2. Local selection, Jameer Miller, grew up in McReynolds, go in the distance, 30,691 in the park. We move it to the 6th inning, and Jeff Reed is going to make the play of the day off the bat of McReynolds, and here is brilliant play by Jeff Reed, giving Manwaring the day off. We go bottom 6, 2-0 Mets. Saberhagen is cruising when Benzinger, on his way to a 3-for-4 day, brings home Darren Lewis. Benzinger and Willie McGee switch places in the order today. Matt Williams on the next pitch. It's gone. A 3-run job. 3-2 Giants. And Dallas Green semi-battered on a blowy day at Candlestick. 4-2 Giants, and Jackson to finish it off. San Francisco on top of the New York Mets. The only discouraging news today is Willie McGee, our guest, had to leave the game in the middle of the action. Willie, with a rib cage injury?
Yes. I just felt a sharp knife-like pain in my side, and I've had it, several times in the past. So it's something that I thought I should just, shut it down and get out of there before I injure it even worse and miss weeks.
All right, so you are a guest in pain tonight. So if Willie doesn't laugh at any of the material too hard, it's just because he doesn't want to aggravate the rib cage. Hey, we wanted to have you on because you don't do a lot of this stuff. You're not a self-promoter, for lack of a better term. What do you think? Why, Willie, you kind of take, I don't want to say a step back from the media, but you're not up front saying, listen to me?
Well, because I think my job is to be a ball player, and I think I have to do whatever it takes for me to be the best ball player that I can be. And I think my thing is the less talking I do, the less I have to do. And I'm just not real comfortable with all media, you know, because I don't. I've had some bad situations in the past, you know, you trust them, and then you tell them something and it comes out differently in the paper.
And you have been burned then?
Well, to a point, I'd say every athlete is going to be burned, but some can deal with it better than others. And the type of person I am, I don't believe in that. I believe that a person should be, you know, be of his word and be just as truthful as I'm going to be with them. You know, if you're going to say something bad, say it. If I do bad, say that, you know. But it seems like sometimes that it gets personal, you know, so. All right, fair enough. Let's take a look at Willie in action as we read off some of his honors. Only Barry Bonds more decorated on the Giants than Willie McGee. 4 times an All-Star selection, 3 Gold Gloves, 2 National League batting championships, and an MVP award in '85. Came into this season hitting .299. Over the last 10 years, a career average of 300. Only 8 players in baseball can make that claim. And you know about Willie, a world champion there with the Cardinals. Had a quick time with the Oakland A's. They're against the Giants in 1989, and then the quick hop over the previous season. More pressure, though, playing in your hometown. You are from, grew up in Richmond, now live in Hercules, and when you've got all the pals out to see you, mom and dad in attendance, a little more pressure than maybe playing in St. Louis. Not really. I thought it would be, but I'd much rather play at home later in my career as I am than I would early in my career, because early in your career, you know, everybody is still fresh on the thought that you're in the big leagues and, you know, hyped up. But as you get older, everybody's going their way. Guys are married, guys are in jail, guys are dead, you know, whatever. So, you know,
it's not to be funny. How many friends are dead?
I don't know.
I guess that sounded good.
But just to say, just kidding. But so I'd much rather end it, you know, later on in my career, because it's like in playing in San Francisco, you have the weather is kind of chilly, so you don't really have that many ticket requests as I thought I would. Really? That's right, huh? People don't want to sit at Candlestick no matter what Willie's doing. Let's go back to the early days. Was there somebody you idolized growing up in Richmond? You said, boy, I want to be like this man? Well, I recall one day when my father, we was watching TV, and there was a ball game on, and I asked him, I said, Pops, do they get paid for that? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I want to be a ball player. And I mean, I was real little then. Yeah. So it was just coincidental that it worked out like that. Yeah. And then Diablo Valley Junior College, and you guys won a national title one summer. What was that? State championship. I think it was 76. I'm not positive, but it was 76. But that was just, it was an awesome year. And from then on, I went on to the Yankees organization, and we won a couple pennants there. So I've been fortunate, you know, on a lot of teams in minor leagues, little league, all the way up to be in winning situations. I'm talking to you for a few minutes. You're big on the honesty thing, though, huh? I mean, you want, you don't suffer anybody telling you one thing on Friday, another thing on Saturday. Oh, no way. Yeah. I mean, I can't, I despise it. I mean, always been this way? Yes. I mean, I was raised like that. You know, my parents are religious. You know, I got a religious upbringing, and it's just you're more comfortable being around real people. You know, your dad's a minister? No, he's a deacon. Deacon. Yeah. So what's the difference? Help me out. I mean, he doesn't give a good speech then? A deacon counts the money. So he counts the money in the church. Okay. But, that type of deal, and you know, says certain prayers, this type of stuff. Okay. But he's a good man, real good man. I love him. Let's deal with a couple of the criticisms you always hear on Willie McGee. Great hitter for average, doesn't deliver the RBIs and the home runs. Do you have an answer for that? Well, I'm not a home run hitter. It's just that plain and simple. You know, I know what I am, and I know what you're going to get, and that's it, and that's reality. And I don't understand why people can't deal with that and accept that. You know, with Willie McGee, with me, what I have problems with is that I call a catch-22 player. You know, I got the speed to be a leadoff hitter, but I don't have the discipline. Okay, I'm a free swinger. I have. Has a manager ever said to you, "Hey, Willie, be a little more disciplined"? Oh, yeah. In my early days in St. Louis, you have certain people come up to you, or you get influenced by people on radio shows. He swings at the first pitch enough. But then you try to do that, and you find yourself taking a lot of third pitches and strikes, you know. You batted third all season, and then today they inserted you sixth. You and Benzinger flip-flopped. Where would you be more comfortable? And the obvious response is wherever Dusty needs me. But do you have a personal preference? Well, not really. I mean, at this point, because like I say, I really don't have the power to hit fifth or sixth, and I don't have the discipline to hit first. So, I mean, you could do anything, and that's what Whitey used to do. He used to put me, he used to use me in different areas of the lineup to protect hitters and to do this because I can put the ball in play. And, I mean, they talk about not driving in runs and stuff, but if you look at the record, I think I did a pretty good job in the past. I don't hit home runs, so I'm not going to drive in 3 or 4 runs at once like Barry and Matty does. But, I get my hits every now and then, and sometimes you just go through spells like now where you just don't hit with runners on. But I found in the past that it comes in bunches, and you just got to be patient.
It's funny. A lot of things you don't read in the paper or hear on the talk shows in regards to leadership. And John Patterson, Darren Lewis, Royce Clayton, name 3 guests that have come down here, and every one of them bring up the fact that Willie McGee is the man that they lean on. Where does this leadership come from, and who was the man who kind of kept you in line when you were coming up?
Ozzie Smith. He took me under his wings and let me live in his house a couple of years and taught me how to play the game and what the game was about. But these kids now, like Royce and Darren and John, they're so mature now mentally that you really don't have to tell them too much. You just got to try to keep them focused on what they're doing and what they're going into. And they got the capability to take over from there, as they're showing.
I really appreciate you coming on tonight because it's funny. Might as well tell the story. I see Willie at Dodger Stadium, and we always kind of not stayed away from Willie, but figure out he doesn't like to do this, so we didn't want to bother him. And Willie looks at me and said, hey, how come you never invited me down? You got a thing against me? I said, no, I didn't think you liked to do those type of talk things.
Well, I like I say, I think you're funny and I think you're real. So, it's a good opportunity for me to, to relax and
well, you've got to get up pretty early in the morning to sneak the guy who was either the top or the second-rated quarterback through to the 6th pick. But the 59th NFL draft began at 3:30 in the afternoon, and still it happened. Trent Dilfer from Fresno State, where he went, where he didn't go, where he could have gone, overshadowing the 5 guys picked before him, and nearly all the guys picked after.
We thought for sure it would be either Indianapolis, Washington, or L.A. And if something didn't happen in L.A. at 5, somebody moved to 4. But, hey, I mean, shows how much we know and how much everybody else knows.
Well, we did know one thing. Number 1.
Bengals have selected Dan Wilkinson, defensive tackle, Ohio State University.
They gave Dan a jersey. How much money they'll give him to wear it, that's another story. The Colts began to undo the best-laid plans of experts by choosing Marshall Faulk instead of either of the quarterbacks. The first time underclassmen ever went 1-2. We'll make that 1-2-3.
The Washington Redskins select Heath Schuler, quarterback, Tennessee.
The 4th choice created some choice unhappiness in places like Phoenix. Sam Weish and the Bucs couldn't connect on it with the Patriots. All sorts of deals were discussed. By the way, these actual draft helmet phones are still available for $1,000 apiece. The Pats kept the pick instead of trading it. They took USC defensive end Willie McGinnis from Los Angeles to Foxborough.
I'll fit right in. No matter where it's at. How cold it is, everybody keeps talking about the weather. I can buy a coat now. I'm just glad to be there.
So then it was the Rams at 5. They needed a quarterback. Well, maybe not. They dealt the pick to the Colts. They needed a quarterback. Well, maybe not. They took the linebacker Trev Alberts out of Nebraska, and then they took the heat and gave some of it back.
But to pass up a Trent Dilfer when all you have is Jim Harbaugh, give me a break. That's why the Colts are picking 2nd every year in the draft, not battling for the Super Bowl like other clubs in the National Football League.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper, in a way? I mean, here's a guy that criticizes everybody, whoever they take. He's got the answers to who you should take and who you shouldn't take. He tells you about your team. He tells us about the Rams. He tells us about Tampa and everything else. And he's, in my knowledge of him, he's never ever put on a jockstrap. He's never been a player. He's never been a coach. He's never been a scout. He's never been an administrator. And all of a sudden, he's an expert.
I'm secure in my position. Obviously, Bill Tobin is not very secure in his position to have a response like that. I have a right to my opinion. He has a right to his.
This is amazing, huh? I knew it'd be exciting, but not this exciting.
Yeah. And it would get more exciting for Dilfer. The writing was on the wall in Tampa. One of the top 2 quarterbacks slips to 6th, Trent Dilfer of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then it was all defense all the time. The Niners traded up to take defensive tackle Bryant Young of Notre Dame. The Seahawks ordered up a Sam Adams, the defensive end out of Texas A&M. Antonio Langham, DB Alabama, goes in the 9 spot to the Cleveland Browns. The Arizona, formerly Phoenix, formerly St. Louis, formerly Chicago Cardinals took Jameer Miller, the linebacker from UCLA. Alcorn State linebacker John Theory, 11th to the Bears, who it turned out had not employed Jimmy Johnson as a draft day consultant, thus denying us the chance to hear Alcorn State Braves. The linemen and defensive backs would be interrupted only by Charles Johnson of Colorado, going to the Steelers at 17, and the elegant wide receiver Johnny Morton going to the Lions to form a USC alumni tandem with Rodney Peete. The rounds running saga. Jerry Jones did not trade Alvin Harper, did not trade up till just before the 23rd pick. The Pokes wound up there with Shante Carver, defensive end from Arizona State. And there was another pick in the first round. Which of the expansion teams gets to choose first next year? The commissioner would not pull the coin out of Jerry Richardson's ear.
It's the Carolinas.
So, Carolina's on the clock for next April. You guys only have about 8,800 hours left.
Looking still further ahead, the Vikings traded Chris Dolman to the Falcons for a number 2 in this draft and a number 1 next year. The Falcons then replaced that first-rounder next year by getting Denver's in a package that netted the Broncos wide receiver Mike Pritchard. And by the way, that coin they flipped for the first choice next year, it's now available on our special toll-free number. Dan. Operators are standing by. The tightest NBA scoring race in the last 16 years was decided on Sunday night on opposite coast. David Robinson was in Los Angeles to face the Clippers, while Shaq was in Orlando to host the Nets. Robinson began his night trailing O'Neal by 5/100ths of a point. Back in 1978, George Gervin led David Thompson by 7/100ths of a point heading into their final games. Gervin went into his knowing Thompson had just scored 73 points. The Iceman needed 58 to claim the title. He responded with 63. First to David's night. And how many times can you say, Admiral? Admiral? 18 points. Admiral, he had 24 at halftime. Admiral, 19 in the third, so he had 43 points after 3. Admiral again for 3. 1 of 2 threes on the night. Admiral, 18 of 25 from the line. John Lucas told his team to foul the Clippers so David would get more opportunities to score. David did. Admiral, 71 points, a few hugs from his teammates. Not a bad night. Bob Weiss even said, we were double teaming him, we were triple teaming him. This game should have been played in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The Clippers should have been embarrassed by their laydown efforts, but then this is the same team that coughed up 150 points to Seattle a little over a week and a half ago. Following the game, David spoke about staying in a blowout.
No mixed feelings at all. Last time I gave him a break at home, I came out of the game early, told him I didn't want to break the record, and this time I stayed in there, so I don't feel bad about it.
How big was David's night? His total ties him for 5th on the all-time single-game list. He joins Wilt, Elgin Baylor, and David Thompson as the only players to top the 70-point plateau in a game. So Shaq needed a trip to Bountiful. He wasn't sure how many points he needed when he started the game, but he knew that David was El Fuego. Shaq doing his work inside early, but not often. That's 9 points after 1 for the Diesel, which many needed 59 more. Second quarter, the gritty, gunny Scotty Skiles finds Shaq for the alley-oop. Shaq at 16, 52 away from David. Would Shaq go quietly into the night? No. Third quarter, Shaq, the leaning lay-in. O'Neal finished the third with 22, leaving him 46 back. The driving slam off the feed from Donald Royal. The Diesel would end up 36 short of the Admiral's night. Shaq had bigger things on his mind, like the Pacers in the opening round of the playoffs. This was Shaq's 7th 20-point, 20-rebound game of the year. He said, if I get the scoring title, I get it. I'm not going to go out of my way to do so. Here are the final numbers in the scoring race after witnessing David's performance. Dominique Wilkins, who was an innocent bystander of sorts tonight for the Clippers, felt the game probably got the Admiral the MVP.
On the diamond, with the Blue Jays back for more and the Orioles reloaded with free agents, the Red Sox were considered at best wild card wannabes. But 3 weeks into the season, the Old Town team was tied for first and sending one of the major's best young pitchers to the mound against the Angels. At Fenway Park, Butch Hobson's going to relax and let Scott take over. No, not George Scott. Scott Cooper. Although it was Boomer Scott Day at Fenway. And Scott moves one deep to right. Tim Salmon, he leaps. He's back. He didn't get it. We're tied at 4. Top of the 5th then. Salmon is up, and turnabout is unfair play.
The 0-1
takes the pitch from Aaron Seeley and rips it down the third baseline, but Cooper makes a great stop. They're not going to get him. He's out. Ninth inning, Damian Easley up, and an omen of things to come. Robbed by Scott Fletcher. It was Scott Day. He gets the standing ovation. The Sox win 5-4, first time in his 22 starts. Seeley's given up more than 3 runs in a game, and this was the second day in a row that the Angels used in a pinch-hitting role only Vincent Boo Jackson. So the Jays had to beat the Twins to stay tied with Boston. Two-time defending World Series champs played this line like an exhibition game. Scott Leyes hit the easy fly ball in the second. Not that easy for Joe Carter. It's that thumb, I think. Leyes would get the third on this and would score on a ground out. We're not even in the Humphrey Dome. In the fourth, no outs. Watch Herbeck break for third. Alex Gonzalez didn't pay any attention to him. Herbeck gets the third and would score on a sac fly. And then in the seventh inning, some very, very bad baseball. Matt Walbeck laces a double to right field. Scott Leyes will come around to score. There's a throw to the plate. All right, you throw to the plate in that situation, but then Pat Borders decides to try to get Walbeck at second. The problem is, Rich Becker was on third. He trotted home easily. 7-3 your final. The Blue Jays are now a game behind the Red Sox. What about Alex Cole? His first home run ever comes in his 1,322nd at bat, but the ball is not juiced. White Sox were up by 1 in the Central as they hosted Detroit. Why is Sparky looking to the outfield? Because the Sox have already gotten back-to-back homers from Franco and Ventura. Then in the 8th, 6-4 Tigers. There's Franco again, 2nd of the day, 7th of the year. And then Ventura again, back-to-back, second time in a week. The ball is not juiced. Top of the 6th, tied at 6, though. Cecil Fielder against Roberto Hernandez right through the old wickets. They call it the wickets because that's what it feels like. Tony Phillips scores the Tigers' lead and wins 7-6. So with Naring and Vaughn doing the double back-to-back thing on Tuesday, that means in 6 days, we got back-to-backs. Yeah.
To the National League, Atlanta's 4-game losing streak didn't have Pittsburgh's Jim Leyland reaching for his hanky. The Pirates skipper feels there isn't a manager in the league who wouldn't mind changing places with Bobby Cox. On Sunday afternoon, Cox had the luxury of asking the game's best pitcher to apply the brakes to the losing streak to Fulton County. You've heard of 3 Men and a Baby. SportsCenter presents 3 babies and a man. And the man, Greg Maddux, facing Jay Bell in the 4th, freezes him. Jay looks for more in the 6th and the whiff. And then Orlando Merced in the 4th, Orlando Merced in the 7th. Jerry Goff whiffs. Jerry Goff. Maddux, 10K performance, looking for a career high number 11. Maddux says, ball juice? I think not. Lloyd McClendon sends him down swinging. Maddux with a shutout. 73 of his 105 pitches were strikes. Bobby Cox said, this Maddux performance tops just about anything he has seen from him, which is saying a lot. John Burkett, Brett Saberhagen, the starters at the shtick. Burkett made only 1 mistake. Top of the first, 2 on, 2 out, nobody on. Kevin McReynolds, deep, and it's not playable. Barry Bonds didn't even move. 1-0, Mets. Bottom of the 2nd, Bonds doesn't move again. This time he's on second base. Oops. Saberhagen gets him. The nice timing play. Bottom of the 6th, 2-1 Mets. 1 out, 1 on, Matt Williams. Gone. 3-2 Giants. They would tack on 1 more. Williams, his 8th, ties Jeff Kent for the National League lead. After the game, Saberhagen said he thought he had Williams fooled on that curveball. Saberhagen's last loss was last June. A pair of unbeaten lefties shared the mound in St. Louis. Greg Swindell and Alan Watson. But this is Shane Reynolds in relief facing Craig Jeffries. Man at third. Jeffries brings in Ray Langford. Then the parade begins. Tom Edens is in. Reynolds is out. Todd Zio, the little blooper down the right field line that falls in. Jeffries will go to third. Which can only mean another pitching change. So it's Edens out. Todd Jones is in. Jones gets Bernard Gilkey to ground to short. The Astros try for the DP to end the inning. Gilkey is safe. Jeffrey scores, tied at 4, and
that's hitless through 3. Bottom of the 3rd, 2 on, 1-0 Yankees. Is the ball juiced? That's an infield fly. It's a home run. 2 in 2 days for Mattingly. Top of the 5th, Abbott still working on a no-hitter. Terry Steinbach flares 1 to left. Here's Louis Polonia going over. Tumbling, bumbling, makes the catch. Preserves the no-hitter, but top of the 7th. There it goes. The fister by Baroa. Nobody's going to get this one. They're not going to get him. Oakland's first hit. Crowd gives Abbott the standing ovation, and Abbott gives the crowd a 6-2 Yankee win. On the lost no-hitter, Abbey said, if you're concerned about that, your priorities are in the wrong place. Of course they are. He already has 1. The A's got just 4 hits, but Stan Javier's 20-game hit streak is not over. He didn't play. Battle of the residents of the new ballparks. We're in Kevin Kennedy's home base. Third, Cleveland leading 4-2. Carlos Baerga on board for Albert Bell's ride. It's deep, and I don't think it's playable off Steve Dreyer. 6-2 Tribe. Bell is not done. Top of the fourth inning against James Hurst. He hurts Hurst. Lofton scores. Indians 7-2. Then it's Eddie Murray. He fists it in. This is not a home run. Eddie will